Have you ever found yourself lost in the rhythm of life, wearing masks so seamlessly that you forget where the performance ends and the real you begins? It's a quiet question that lingers in us all. Who am I, truly? Carl Jung, the visionary Swiss psychiatrist, offered a profound answer through his concept of individuation, a journey to uncover the authentic self beneath the layers we've built. Let's walk through this process step by step, diving deep into each stage Jung laid out, with his wisdom lighting the way. Stage 1. Peeling back the persona. Picture yourself stepping onto the stage of life each day, slipping into a role so familiar it feels like second skin. This is the persona, the carefully curated you that greets the world, the one that laughs on cue, nods in polite agreement, or pushes through exhaustion to meet deadlines. Carl Jung described it as a necessary adaptation, a mask sculpted by the hands of societal norms, family expectations, and the ambitions we chase to prove our worth. It's the version of you that says, "I'm fine," when you're crumbling inside, or the one that smiles through gritted teeth to keep the peace. But here's the catch. As essential as this mask is for survival, it's not the whole of who you are. It's just the opening act, not the full story. Jung didn't see the persona as a villain to vanquish. It's a tool, a shield we wield to navigate the complexities of human interaction. Yet to glimpse your true self, the first step is recognizing this mask for what it is. Not your soul, but a reflection of the world's demands. Pause for a moment and turn inward. What parts of me are molded by what others expect? When do I catch myself performing instead of simply being? These questions are like a soft knock on the door of self-awareness. Maybe you notice it in the way you soften your opinions to avoid conflict, or how you chase a career that doesn't sing to your heart because it's what makes sense. The persona thrives in these moments, wrapping you in its comfortable, familiar embrace. But here's where the magic begins. Seeing the persona doesn't mean tearing it down. It's not about rebellion or abandoning the roles you play. Jung understood we need this mask to function, to belong, to move through a world that demands structure. Instead, it's about loosening its grip, about daring to peek beneath it. Imagine you've just finished a long performance. The curtains have fallen, and you're alone backstage. You reach up and slowly peel off the costume, the wig, the makeup, the heavy layers. What's left? A rawness, a quiet vulnerability, a flicker of something unscripted. That's where the true self hides, in the space between the shoulds and the coulds. This peeling back isn't always comfortable. It might mean admitting you've been living someone else's dream, or that the perfect image you project is exhausting you. But the deeper you look, the more you'll feel it. A subtle stirring, like a breeze rustling through a forest long still. Jung's genius lies in this invitation, to question the mask not with judgment, but with curiosity. Try this. Sit with a notebook and write down 3 things you do because you have to, not because you want to. Then ask, who would I be if no one was watching? The answers might surprise you, whispering hints of an authentic self that's been waiting patiently in the wings. In this first stage, you're not yet stripping everything away. You're simply learning to see the persona as a layer, not the core. It's the beginning of a dialogue with yourself, a gentle unraveling. And as you loosen that grip, you create space for what's beneath to breathe, setting the stage for the deeper revelations Jung promises in the journey ahead. Stage 2. Facing the shadow. Now imagine descending a creaky staircase into the dimly lit basement of your mind. This is the shadow, the unseen vault where we tuck away the parts of ourselves we'd rather not face, our insecurities that whisper we're not enough, the anger that flares in secret, the shame that stings like an old wound, or the wild impulses we cage for fear of judgment. Carl Jung saw this hidden realm as more than a dumping ground for flaws. He believed it holds a quiet, untamed power that shapes us, often without our knowing. It's the undercurrent beneath our polished surface, pulling the strings until we dare to turn and meet its gaze. Jung's words cut to the core. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Think about that for a moment. What if the things you blame on chance, the patterns you can't escape, are echoes of this buried self? This stage is the beating heart of the journey, the pivot where courage takes root. It's not about slaying a monster, it's about sitting down with it, listening to what it has to say. The shadow isn't just the bad stuff, it's the rejected, the disowned, the misunderstood. And here's the twist. Within its depths lie treasures, creativity stifled by fear, strength masked as weakness, potential locked behind doors we've bolted shut. So how do you face it? Start with a mirror, Jung himself suggested. Look at what drives you mad in others. Is it arrogance that grates on you? Laziness that sparks disdain? Neediness that makes you recoil? Pause and ask, could this be a reflection of something I've pushed away in myself? Maybe you judge arrogance because you've silenced your own confidence, fearing it's too bold. Or perhaps laziness irks you because you deny yourself rest, calling it weakness. This isn't about blame, it's about discovery. The shadow often hides in the traits we project outward, like a shadow cast on a wall, revealing its shape only when we turn toward the light. Facing the shadow is raw, messy work. It might mean picking up a pen and spilling your fears onto the page, those late-night worries you drown out with noise, or confessing a secret to yourself, one you've never dared speak aloud, like a resentment you've nursed in silence. Try sitting with discomfort instead of fleeing. Feel the heat of anger, the weight of shame, and ask, what are you trying to tell me? It's not a comfortable tea party. It's more like standing in a storm, letting the rain wash over you. But Jung knew this chaos is fertile ground. That anger, it might be a boundary you've failed to set. That shame, a clue to a wound that needs healing. The wild impulses, a call to a freedom you've forgotten. This confrontation isn't about erasing the shadow. Jung didn't believe in that. It's about integration, about welcoming it home as part of the whole. Picture it like an old friend you've ignored, waiting in the dark with stories to tell. The true self doesn't emerge by pretending the shadow doesn't exist. It rises when you extend a hand and say, you belong here too. It's painful, yes. Tears might fall, old scars might ache. But it's also where transformation ignites. The artist finds her voice in the chaos she once feared. The quiet soul uncovers strength in the anger he suppressed. The shadow isn't just darkness. It's the raw material of your becoming. In this stage, you're not just looking at the shadow. You're stepping into it, feeling its texture, hearing its whispers. It's a descent that demands bravery, but the reward is profound. A self no longer split, but stitched together with threads of honesty. As Jung promises, this is where fate loosens its grip, and you begin to claim the reins of your own story. Stage 3. Embracing the anima, animus now. Step into a quieter chamber of the soul, where two figures wait in the wings, the anima and the animus, the inner counterparts that weave a bridge between the conscious mind and the vast unconscious beneath. Carl Jung saw these as archetypes alive within us all. For men, the anima emerges as the feminine within, a current of intuition, emotion, and vulnerability. For women, the animus rises as the masculine, a force of logic, assertiveness, and courage. These aren't distant strangers. They're vital threads in the tapestry of who you are, often overlooked, misunderstood, or pushed aside by a world that prefers rigid lines over fluid balance. To uncover your true self, Jung invites you to turn toward them, to listen, to let them speak. The anima and animus aren't about gender as we know it. They transcend stereotypes, defying the boxes society hands us. They're energies, essences, the yin and yang swirling in your psyche. For a man, the anima might be the soft voice that urges him to feel when he's been taught to only think, the flicker of tenderness he buries to seem unbreakable. For a woman, the animus might be the steady pulse of conviction she mutes to keep the peace, the clarity she hesitates to claim. These forces aren't flaws to fix, they're gifts to reclaim. Jung believed that ignoring them leaves us half-formed, like a painting with colors missing from the palette. Embracing them, that's where the self grows whole. So how do you begin? If you're a man, pause and ask, when do I suppress my feelings to seem strong? Maybe it's in the moments you swallow tears because men don't cry, or when you dismiss a gut instinct because it's not rational. The anima whispers in those silences. Can you hear her? She's the muse behind a sudden urge to write, the pang of empathy you feel for a stranger, the vulnerability you hide beneath a stoic mask. If you're a woman, turn inward and consider, do I shy away from standing firm to stay agreeable? Perhaps it's when you soften your words to avoid seeming too much, or when you let logic take a back seat because it feels unfeminine. The animus stirs there, in the courage you've quieted, the sharp insight you've dimmed to fit in. This stage is about balance, not imitation. It's not about men becoming women or women becoming men. It's about reclaiming what's already yours. Picture a dance floor where these energies meet, softness swaying with resolve, instinct entwining with reason. For a man, engaging the anima might mean picking up a paintbrush and letting emotion spill onto the canvas, or sitting still long enough to feel what he's been running from. For a woman, the animus might call her to speak her truth without apology, to challenge a habit of shrinking herself, to trust the clarity of her mind as much as her heart. It's subtle work, listening to the quieter voice within, the one drowned out by louder expectations. Jung saw this integration as sacred, a reunion that enriches the self beyond measure. Imagine a river fed by two streams, one warm and flowing, the other cool and steady. Alone, each is incomplete. Together, they carve a deeper path. Engaging with the anima or animus might feel unfamiliar, even unsettling, like stepping into a room you've never explored in your own house. But as you do, the true self begins to take shape, no longer fragmented by what you've denied. A man who embraces his anima finds a strength that doesn't need to shout. A woman who welcomes her animus discovers a grace that doesn't bend. This isn't a one-time meeting, it's an ongoing conversation. Try this. Next time you feel a pull you can't explain, a hunch, a surge of boldness, a wave of tenderness, don't dismiss it. Lean in. Ask, what part of me is this? The answers will weave a richer, more complete you, layer by layer. Jung's promise is clear. As you integrate these inner counterparts, the true self doesn't just appear, it blossoms, vibrant and whole, a harmony of all you've dared to embrace. Stage 4, the integration of individuation. And so we arrive at individuation, the summit of Carl Jung's towering vision, a peak that's not a final resting place, but a vast plateau stretching into the horizon, alive with possibility. This isn't a finish line where you plant a flag and call it done. It's an ongoing symphony, a weaving of every thread you've gathered along the way. The persona's polished sheen, the shadow's jagged depths, the anima and animus's tender and fierce duet, into a tapestry that is wholly, unmistakably you. Jung didn't dangle the carrot of perfection here. He offered something messier, truer, wholeness. It's not about sanding down your rough edges or polishing yourself into someone else's ideal. It's about gathering every piece, light and dark, loud and quiet, and crafting a self that breathes, shifts, and grows with you. Imagine standing before a sprawling mosaic, its tiles a chaotic scatter at first glance. Some gleam like polished glass catching the sun. Others are chipped, shadowed, rough to the touch. These are you, the masks you've worn, the fears you've faced, the inner voices you've learned to hear. Individuation is the act of picking them up one by one and fitting them together, not into a flawless picture, but into something alive, something that hums with your essence. Jung taught us that the true self isn't a prize you unearth and dust off. It's a living presence, a flame you coax into being, a river carving its own path through the landscape of your life. It's less about finding who you are and more about becoming it, with every step, every stumble, every brave glance inward. What does this feel like in the flesh? Close your eyes and ask, what would it feel like to live as my fullest self, unapologetically? Let the question settle. Let it stir. Maybe it's the weightlifting as you speak a truth you've swallowed for years, your voice steady despite the tremor in your chest. Or the rush of picking up a long-abandoned dream, scribbling poetry, strumming a guitar, planting a garden, and letting it root in your days. It might be quieter still, sitting alone with a cup of tea, the world hushed, your soul unfurling in the stillness. These aren't heroic feats. They're acts of quiet defiance, threads tightening the weave of who you are. Individuation whispers, you don't have to choose between your pieces. You can hold them all. Jung saw this process as a lifelong dance, not a sprint to some shiny endpoint. It's in the moments you choose courage over comfort, like when you admit a flaw not with shame, but with grace, or when you chase a hunch that defies logic because it feels right. Recall a time you felt electric with life. Maybe the mask slipped during a late-night talk, the shadow growled and you listened, or the anima's softness met the animus's fire in a decision that was purely yours. That's individuation's pulse. This stage asks you to seek those sparks and string them together. It might mean walking away from a script someone else wrote for you, a job, a role, a belief, or leaning into a quirk you've hidden, letting it shine. Some days the pieces snap into place, others they grate and shift. That's not failure. That's the rhythm of wholeness, a harmony born of tension. The beauty here is in the motion, the refusal to calcify. Picture an artist hunched over a canvas, brush in hand, layering colors that clash and blend. Each stroke a choice, each layer a revelation. The painting's never done, it evolves as she does. Jung's genius is this. He doesn't promise a static you to pin down, but a compass for a journey without end. Try this. Name one piece of yourself you've sidelined, a doubt, a dream, a defiance. Now picture it as a tile in your mosaic. Where does it fit? How does it shift the whole? The true self blooms in that question, in the courage to keep asking, to keep weaving, to let every fragment, shattered or shining, find its home. This isn't a tidy conclusion, it's a call to live awake. Individuation dares you to gather your scattered selves and hold them close, not to smooth them over, but to marvel at their edges. Jung's words echo like a lantern in the fog. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So step into that privilege. Speak your piece. Chase your spark. Sit with your silence. The beauty isn't in the arrival. It's in the becoming, in the bold, messy, radiant act of being you. Jung's map isn't a quick fix. It's a deep, lifelong exploration. His words echo as a guide. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So take a moment today, pick up a pen, gaze into a mirror, or step into silence and ask, who am I when the world isn't watching? If this resonates with you, I'd love for you to join me at Light Through Shadows, a channel dedicated to illuminating these inner landscapes. Subscribe, share, and let's explore together, because the truest light often shines through the shadows we're brave enough to face.